Clyde.
Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. I call the member for Redlands.
Deputy Speaker, I rise to make a brief contribution to the Queensland Civil and Administrative Tribunal and Other Legislation Amendment Bill 2018. This bill delivers on the implementation of recommendations from the review of the QCAT Act, and I'm very pleased that through this bill we'll be delivering on the Palaszczuk government's promise to introduce laws to help purchasers of lemon motor vehicles. And let's face it, there is never any joy in the purchase of a lemon motor vehicle. I remember as a young girl the pressure a lemon vehicle put on my mum and dad and the household purse strings. I remember the car well. It was a cream station wagon. The member for Kawongba, a Ford lover, doesn't want me to tell you it was a Ford XD Falcon, but Speaker, I can't mislead the House. I remember how many times it broke down. It was a very, very dodgy engine. It was meant to be a car that brought joy to mum and dad. It was their first ever new car purchase. Speaker, the establishment of QCAT addressed long-standing concerns about the proliferation of tribunals in Queensland and the need for a single recognisable gateway to increase the community's access to justice and increase the efficiency and quality of decision-making. As such, the objective of the QCAT Act, including ensuring that QCAT deals with matters in a way that is accessible, fair, just, economical, informal and quick. This bill contributes to these objectives. I'll firstly highlight the amendments to increase QCAT's operational efficiency. These amendments, which implement the conclusions of the QCAT Act review, include clarifying that QCAT's tenancy jurisdiction is limited to claims of not more than $25,000, changing the scope, timing and operation of stay orders, for example, to allow QCAT to stay the operation of part of a decision, allowing the principal registrar to issue notices requiring a party to attend a hearing, allowing the Attorney-General to appoint members and others to a pool of persons that can act as senior members from time to time, and providing a framework to enable QCAT to undertake conciliation. The second part of the legislation, and the part which attracted most interest, was the provision of greater rights for Queenslanders buying a vehicle, and this was achieved by lifting QCAT's jurisdiction limit on motor vehicles from $25,000 to $100,000, redefining the term vehicle to include motorhomes and caravans, and we know how popular caravanning is here in Queensland, reinstating the statutory warranty for B-class older second-hand vehicles sold by motor dealers, and continuing to advocate for national laws to specifically protect new car buyers, including the purchase of lemon vehicles. Deputy Speaker, like my family experienced with that dodgy Ford, the purchase of a lemon vehicle can impose a lot of unfair stress on an individual or a family. The purchase of a car, new, used, caravan or motorhome are big life purchases, something we look forward to and that should bring us joy. Speaker, I was very fortunate to be able to join the motor enthusiast chair and Ford lover, the member for Kawongba, on the Transport and Public Works Committee as a substitute on the hearing with the Office of the Regulatory Policy, Liquor, Gaming and Fair Trading in the Department of Justice and Attorney-General. I was very interested in asking the department if they'd ever considered increasing the scope to also include for boats. Queenslanders love their boats, and we know that these can be a significant purchase with similar lemon issues. Unfortunately, it's not in this bill, but hopefully it might be considered in the future. The QCAT limit was $25,000, so to increase the limit to $100,000 brings better access to justice for Queenslanders. This uplift is in line with the current costs of new and used cars. Deputy Speaker, during the public hearing, one of the topics discussed was that $100,000 limit, which would exclude vehicles which may be just over that limit. We discussed the idea with Chris McKenzie, the Director of the Office of Regulatory Policy, Liquor, Gaming and Fair Trading, and we asked Mr McKenzie if the vehicle had a combination of faults that added up to $100,000, would that still be recognised? Obviously, if the vehicle is a lemon, if it keeps having those major faults, Mr McKenzie replied each individual replacement on that situation would constitute a new claim each time, and that ultimately it might be $120,000 if there were if 3 gearboxes were replaced, but it would be an individual asset each time. We would hope that we could intervene and try and conciliate and negotiate such an outcome on that long before it got to the point. The requesting of repairs, diagnosing of faults and gathering proof of sometimes intermittent faults, and if you're not very mechanically minded, that can be really tricky, can be time-consuming, and it was great to see the long-term advocate for reform in this space, Connie Cicchini, who's been strongly pushing for these changes. So it was great to have her there in the hearings, and we thank her for her advocacy for the many Queensland vehicle owners. Deputy Speaker, I'd like to thank the members of the Transport and Public Works Committee and the hard-working Secretariat as always. Deputy Speaker, I commend the bill to the House.
Mr Speaker.
Thank you. I call the member for Warrego.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I rise to contribute to the debate on the Queensland Civil Administrative